So I landed Bangkok. And this is going to be sort of, maybe discussion one of many of why the heck I'm here. And I want to back up on what I related to when I was in Bangkok for the first hour and why I was like, wow, I really like it here. So in about 1998, 99, I was living in San Diego and I was really stressed out. Again, it was work environment and that sort of thing, because I was in a very stressful environment. As a chief engineer for, gratefully, the #1 radio station in San Diego by revenue as well as ratings and several other sort of metrics. And we were also the #1 radio station in the country, but that doesn't really mean anything to the average person because the rating system that used is simply by the industry. And so you're like, what does that mean to me? It doesn't mean anything to you. But the point is that we were visible, and so we were held to a higher standard. And so I liked that, right? So the bar is set higher. But as the chief engineer for that radio station, that means that you got to have your act together. And one of the things that's really important when you're the engineer is you stay on the air. And you don't do that real well with just simply prayer and duct tape. So anyway, that's part of it, but there's a lot of stress involved. And luckily I had resources, not the least of which was time, money, and humans. So I had a great staff, I had a decent budget, but I had a finite amount of time, which of course, as Einstein identified years ago, which is only 24 hours in a day, so make the most of it, right? Highly stressful, and so one day, I said, oh man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go chill out. And so I rented a SUV in San Diego, and even at the time, it was sort of, a challenge to find a rental car company, like a national rental car company, like Avis or National or something like that. They would be like, oh sure, you can drive our cars into Mexico. In fact, it was more common for them to say, especially in San Diego, right? They would be like, look, unlimited mileage or whatever, but do not drive into Mexico. I discovered later, actually after this scenario, that Avis absolutely let you drive their cars into Mexico, provided you moved over to the next terminal and purchased the Mexican insurance. But then there were these sort of smaller companies that realized, hey, this is an untapped market. What we should do is we should offer this service. We should offer the service of, hey, rent our cars, and we specialize in cars that are designed to drive to Mexico. So I did that, and it was like Baja Tours or something, and so I rented, I think it was a Isuzu Trooper at the time. Got Mexican insurance. So from San Diego, I drove down to Ensenada, and as I was driving down the coast, it was very beautiful and everything, but I'm like, but the water here, even in July, it's not real warm. And I kind of want to go swimming. So I said, well, I've never been over on this other side of the Baja. Now, this isn't like 11 p.m. 11 p.m. midnight. So I'm just going to keep driving over the other side. What's the worst thing that can happen? So I drive all the way across the Baja, and on the other side of the Baja, and I end up in San Felipe, Baja California, Mexico. So what I will do is I will include below a link to the Google map of where San Felipe is in Baja California Norte, Baja California, Mexico. And the short answer is it is southeast of San Diego, California. It's about a 4.5-hour drive, let's just say that. If you're going the routes that allow you to go 65 to 85, how's that? And it's on the northeastern part of Baja California. So anyway, so I end up there, I get there at like 2 or 3 in the morning. It is hot and humid, just the way I like it. And I get a hotel room. And it was like, I don't remember how much it was. So therefore it was like $20, $30, not something that I really even hit the needle, right? And so, and I wake up after, sleeping till like, 8 or 9 in the morning. And I wake up to something very sort of similar to this. Because in San Felipe, of course, you wake up, the sun rises because it's on the east side, and it's hot and it's humid, and I say, wow, this place is pretty amazing. So that began a love for San Felipe and Mexico. And I loved Mexico for a long time. And many things contributed to my love for Mexico. The people, the strength of my dollar in Mexico, and back then, it was one of the first purchases I made was at the Volkswagen dealer in Tijuana. And in 2001, I bought the last year that Volkswagen produced the Beetle, the classic old Beetle style, sometimes referred to as Mexi Beetle, the one that was basically the world's most popular car in the 60s, sorry, one of the more popular cars in like the 60s in the United States, so the little Beetle. And I bought that at Volkswagen at Tijuana, and the exchange rate at the time was 8.6 pesos to 1. And as of today, in November of 2019, the exchange rate is approximately 19 pesos to $1. So even at the exchange rate of 9 to 1 versus 19 to 1, my impression was, boy, I get a lot for my dollar. And so I had a great time down in Mexico. So I loved Mexico for a while until the economy globally went bad, to say the least. When the economy goes bad and people's livelihoods are at stake, desperate people do desperate things, and because of that, communities change in complexion. And so my love for Mexico decreased significantly. My level of safety decreased, and so my love for Mexico decreased, but I still had this memory of my love for Mexico. And so after about 2009, after the global financial crisis, I would sit there and say, where's my New Mexico? So with that background, I land in Bangkok. It's about 1 in the morning in 2012, December. And because I've never been to this scary Thailand place, and I don't know what to expect, I think to myself, all right, well, not only am I never been here, but I'm also gonna land there in the middle of the night, and I have no idea what to do. So I'm going to book a hotel. I'm going to book a Marriott, because I know what a Marriott is. And a Marriott experience, for the most part, every single place in the world, it is a franchise, it is a Marriott. I know exactly what to expect. And I got a recommendation from a buddy. It was the JW on Sukhumvit in Bangkok, if you know where that is. And it was like $110, right? And so I think the resort fee and the taxes for a JW in the United States is $110. Anyway, $110 for a JW is a good deal, in air quotes, from this farang's perspective, on my first trip to Thailand. And I think my first stay at the JW, I think the entire bill, pardon me, I'm walking on some rocks here. I think the entire bill was 150,000 baht. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. And now my goal is to live over here. My goal is to spend less than 60,000 baht in an entire month to live over here. So, life changes. Anyway, so I'm there in Bangkok, and I'm at this Marriott. So I check in, and I walk around the corner. If you know anything about Sukhumvit, and you know anything about where the JW is, it's right around the corner from Soi 3, Soi 4, or Nana Plaza. Now, Nana Plaza is arguably one of the more well-known entertainment locations in Bangkok, for sure. But it's like 2:30 in the morning, right? And so I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna message my buddy And I'm like, hey bro, I just got here, but it's like totally dead. It's really quiet around me. And so let me know what I should do and I'll just, So anyway, so I leave. He's like, no, trust me, it's gonna get exciting. He says, just walk outside, walk around the back. There'll be tons of street food, tons of people walking around. There'll be tons of girls back there, right? And I'm like, all right, fine. So I walk back there and I walk down the soy and it's 2:30 in the morning, right? So like all the bars are lit out. So it is just packed with people, packed with girls, quite frankly. And at the time, I was single, right? And I'm just like, oh my God. And they're all paying attention to me. And so, ego, right? But the point is that I sat there, I stood there, and I felt incredibly safe amidst this just crazy new experience of everything new. I mean, street food like that with like these little stalls, that doesn't exist in the United States, where at least I frequent. And the smells, I'm like, I've never smelled food this good on a sidewalk. And yeah, there were some foreigners, and it was 2:30 in the morning, so there was the whole like, drunken beer annoyance part. I was like, whatever, but I pretty much just ignored that. But I stood there and I was like, bam, in my mind comes the thought, I've found my New Mexico. Now, if you've ever been to Maui or you've ever been to here, if you've grown up in a similar scenario where I've grown up, which was New England, meaning, oh cool, we've got 2.5 good months of weather a year. And then it's freezing cold for 6 months. And then your fantasy is that spring shows up and it's 60 degrees outside, it's sunny. And you go to some place that's the tropics, you're living the dream, right? At least my experience and what I've had the experience of some of my friends having is you get to these places, like let's say Maui, you go to Maui for the first time, right? You land there and you're like, oh my God, I love Maui, I'm moving here. And it's like, right, of course you are. So, with that in mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here, it's Bangkok, it's exotic, it's exciting. Then I bought things. And in 2012, if I thought, compared to Mexico in 1998 or 1999, 2000, 2001, what I could buy for my dollar in Bangkok, which is arguably one of the top 5 most expensive cities in Thailand, Bangkok, Phuket, other really tourist high cost cities, I was like, this place is free. I mean, because I'm staying at the JW for $110, right? A night. I mean, I walk down the street and there's a notch down of 4-star hotel for $50 a night, $60 a night, $70 a night even. Because this is December, right? This is December 15th, December 16th, which, if you know anything about Thailand, that is peak season. None of this high season nonsense. That's the 3 to 4 weeks in Thailand that are the most expensive, 3, 4, 5 weeks even, of the entire year. Other than maybe Songkran and, depending upon where you are, there is no other day of the week, and it's a Saturday. There is no other day of the week that is more expensive than that day. And I'm sitting there going, this place is free. Because I'm from San Diego, right? And it's that's one of the top 10 most expensive cities in the country. So anyway, and I've got all this confirmation bias because it's warm and it's exotic and it's new and everything. But anyway, the bottom line is that in December of 2012, my mind says, I have found my New Mexico. And it had been at least want to say at least 7 years since I felt that way. At least 7 years. And it was so refreshing. Anyway, that's just the beginning of this whole journey that began in 2012. So here we are in November of 2019, and I'm here. So you'll get a lot more detail a little later. But I just wanted to check in and say it's Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com from Thailand, saying I hope you're living the dream, because if you are not living the dream, I highly encourage you to find your Thailand, because I'm no longer looking for my Mexico. I've found my Thailand, and I hope you find your Thailand. Ciao.